And even though I gave him a great strategy, okay, and we're giving you a great tool, we're just going to give you a slice of that with 2 days in the tool, the personalized blueprint tool. We're going to give you a snapshot of that with 2 days. You can have the greatest strategy in the entire world, the greatest tool in the entire world. But if you don't really look in the mirror right now and really evaluate your state of mind and the story and the dialogue that you're believing, and look at some of those paradigms that are off, look at some of those realities that are off, face some of those lies that you're believing, then you're probably not going to change.
This is the Untamed podcast, where only the few dare to go. We're building a community of adventurous high achievers who refuse to trade our dreams for comfortable mediocrity so that we can unleash our untamed potential. Could you be one of the untamed few? Now, your Untamed hosts, Mark Lucas and Joel Fritz.
Okay, I want you to visualize something with me. I mean, close your eyes. Are you ready? Wait, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. Okay. All right. Close your eyes and visualize this. You're running on a track. Well, you're back in high school and you're running track. You're running 100 meters and your coach is down at the end and they've got a stopwatch. And you run as fast as you can. You see him click that stopwatch after you cross the finish line. And you go over to the coach and he says, "Hey, look at that. You're 0.2 faster than you were yesterday." And you're like, "Great, awesome, I'm improving." It makes sense, right? Now, same thing, go back to the starting line. The gun fires, you're running down, you cross the finish line, and you look to your coach and you expect to see the stopwatch in their hand, clicking it, telling you whether or not you did better than last time. But instead, this time, the coach looks at you and says, "I just don't feel like you did a very good job that time." What is that like? What is that like to have this fluid reference point where you, and you can open your eyes if you haven't already.
Especially if you're driving.
If you're driving, yeah, you can. Hopefully you're still with us. We love you. But what's it like to have an unfixed reference point on something? It's not easy. And
it's frustrating.
Here's the deal, is that for many of us in our careers, we've figured out through trial and error, through a lot of pain, grit, education, to figure out what those reference points are and how we can improve, just like the scenario with the stopwatch. And we get better and better and better in a particular area. But then you and I have been talking a lot about a better definition of success lately. And so when we start to think about other areas in our lives where we're not doing well because there's more of a fluid reference point, or we've never taken the time to really dial in a reference point, it can be a lot more like that second scenario where you're running down the track and the coach looks at you and they're like, "I don't feel like I did a good job." If you're sitting there saying, "I don't feel like I did a good job," or "maybe I did a good job," then you don't have a good reference point. And that illustration is compliments of Patrick Lencioni, who's one of my favorite authors out of his book, 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. But think about that.
Yeah.
We need these fixed reference points in our lives so that we can find those reference points in the areas that we want to succeed, not just in our job, but also in life. And these other areas like emotional success, spiritual success, relational success. So
it's such a great visual and such a great moment to be able to process this conversation today with our untamed few. I think at the end of the day, I think we continue to kind of process this, and a lot of us don't really know what is the track. Like, what track are we even running on?
Yeah.
And that visual is so beautiful, because the second part of it, again, I don't feel like you did great, or I don't feel like you ran your best, or whatever it is, but there's just no fixed reference point, like you said. And I think for men, I think for all of us, we've got to begin to start visualizing, what is this track that we're running on?
Yeah.
And it's not just the track of our career. And yet we want to keep being highly successful in our careers. And we know that there's clear fixed reference points there.
That we've learned.
We've
had to work hard to learn those.
Absolutely learned. And yet we've also had bosses, we've talked about this, that even though we do have clear fixed reference points and KPIs, we go into those kind of like monthly evaluation
Right,
or those
right.
one-on-one meetings,
Right.
and they're like,
or give them to somebody else.
You're like,
pay
I just
attention if you're a boss giving them to
feel
some.
like you're productive right
Right.
now. I don't feel like your energy and your heart is really in the job right now. You're like, what? What is happening? I'm crushing it.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. Like
Yeah.
I'm the top of this and the top of that, and I've hit the deliverables. I've hit the
I'm
sales.
measuring against this, and this, and
I'm
that looks
winning.
great. And over here, you're like, I
just
don't feel like, you know.
like your heart's really in it right now.
You got it. So if you're a boss,
confusing.
do not give feedback like that because it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do the company any good. And it doesn't do the employee any good.
To like
yeah.
how you feel. Like, I mean, it's just so hard to run on that track.
But that's what we do in these other areas, right?
It is.
We come home and we're
is.
like, how does my wife feel toward me, or what was I hoping for when I walked
Right.
through the door?
Right.
And then you go, oh, well, I feel like I should be getting more attention than I am. I mean,
Yeah.
but if you don't have a reference point to ask yourself, I mean, what are the things that you need in a relationship? You need, what would your wife appreciate? Did you help her with something? You listen to her. What are her needs? What is she going through? When was the last time you listened to your wife? Right? That's a reference point.
So true. And even when we have good intentions, like I'll share a story that just came to mind. It's like I had just learned this concept, and we talked about it a few episodes ago, but just the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of those is acts of service. I've already said before. My wife that's her highest, acts of service. Okay. It's not physical touch. It's acts of service. And sweetie, I love you. But there's 5 love languages. Okay. Physical touch, acts of service, words of encouragement, gifts, and quality time. So for hers, it's acts of service. And I remember when I first heard this concept, this is like 12 years ago or 15 years ago when it first came out. And I'm like, okay, she's told me it's acts of service. So that's the track. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do that. And not even really find out like the best ways that she wants to have acts of service or be served. I'm like, I like a clean car. I'm just going to go wash her car and vacuum it all the time. Like, have it spotless. Like everything's crystal, shiny, clear, like everything you could eat off the car. Like it's just so clean. And I remember doing this for like, I mean, I'm an idiot sometimes. So like 2 months I'm doing this or 3 months. And like one time, like on a tired day that I came home, she just didn't seem grateful for me.
Washing her car, man.
And I'm like, I never even asked her anytime if she wanted it or if she liked it. But I finally just said, like, I've been like cleaning your car and doing all this for you for like months now.
Yeah.
Why don't you appreciate me? And she's like, I never asked you to do that one time. One time. So it was like a track.
Yeah.
And it was like a stopwatch that I made up.
Right.
Like it's like that was my made up stopwatch of time. Like,
Yep.
what a great husband I am. I'm going to decide in the ways that she wants to be served.
Yeah. It's
What
true.
an idiot. But still, we do this where even when we think we have the track that we run on at home, we sometimes create the track without conversations with our wives.
That's right.
And really identifying those fixed reference points of what is success in our marriage? What is success in the relationships that mean so much to us? What is success in the way of us in growing in our spiritual and our faith and our relationship with God? Like we just have to have clarity and conversation and communication with one another.
Yeah,
when it's
absolutely.
regarded
And
there. So,
if these guys will stick with us till the end,
Yeah.
you guys, we're looking forward to giving you another couple days from our 21 days to your personal blueprint for success, right?
excited to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the very end, we're going to give that, and that's going to help actually in this process of evaluation.
It'll
'Cause
give
we-
fixed reference points.
It'll help.
Exactly
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we have 5 untamings, and the first one is awaken. Then it moves to breakthrough, and then onto our path of purpose of the first 3. And those are important because it's what we're talking about. Guys need an awakening. We all need an awakening. It's not something you have once in your life. It's something that you need often in your life. So whether it be through a retreat, which we don't want you guys to miss out on. September, we're going surfing in Southern California.
SoCal.
So kind of make some, well, check it out. We got a link in the description so you can see that. But the point is, whether it be a retreat and you're going and you're actually hyper intensively looking for an awakening and some breakthrough and the path that you need to be running, because that's what we're talking about, the path.
Yeah.
These things are very intentional that we have thought through. But our path of purpose is exactly what you're talking about. It's running the right track. And so we'll talk about that stuff there, or just getting away for a few days locally, maybe taking a night away, 2 full days where you get quiet and you take your own little adventure retreat. You got to get away so that you get this awakening, this sense that where you're asking questions about these things that are so important. How am I doing in this other area of my life? And probably one of the most important questions to ask, do I have a sense of meaning and purpose in my life, just in general? Do I feel a sense of meaning and purpose or not? And these activities that I'm doing, the career that I have, the life that I'm living with my kids, do I feel meaning and purpose in my general life or not? It's a hard question to ask, maybe a little bit scary, but at the same time, the sooner you ask it, the sooner you can address it and figure out those reference points.
Yeah, and one of the things that, again, I want to bring us back to when we talk about this awakening, because that really is that first step in the untamings. For an awakening, and I remember this story, and I'll share the story now with somebody that I met with about in the last 6 months. And when we talk about an awakening, one of the first things we did in that very first episode, and we talk a lot because you and I love this concept of, obviously, not concept, but the reality of how much we love surfing. And we talked about drifting.
Oh, yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, we're talking about, what we're talking about right now, what I'm going to read and we're going to leave with you in 2 more days in this personalized success blueprint, 10 minutes a day for 21 days, is we're all drifting. And there's all this just really pretty steady drift that happens every single day for you and I, for all of us. And yet when I had this moment in a consulting moment with an incredible man that was highly, highly successful, maybe the most successful man that I've ever been in a consulting relationship with.
In his career.
As a CEO of a $6 billion company. And I remember having this conversation with him. And it was the first time in a long time that he lifted his head up out of the water and he resurfaced and he found a fixed reference point, which is what you do when you're obviously drifting and facing even current. But he looked at the beach and he found a fixed reference point. And that reference point for him at that time was his marriage. That reference point for him at that time were his kids, the life at home. And he realized, Joel, how far he had drifted.
Right. Yeah.
He realized he had gone so far away from what he wanted in the way of success at home. He had drifted so far. And that's just not what we want for men.
No, we want the exact opposite.
It's not what we want for men. But it requires some intentionality. It requires to really take some hard steps, to put in some work, to hold up a mirror in front of yourself, to resurface your head, and to really identify what are those fixed reference points for how I truly want success to be in my life at home. And I think for me, this becomes more clear, like we've talked about, in these moments where we consult. It becomes real clear when we go to a funeral. But we don't want to have to just have those moments, those wake-up moments. We have an opportunity to lift our head up and reevaluate where we are as often as we want to.
Yes.
Like, this is a process in the drifting process for the awakening. You and I both, we still have to awaken ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we're still in a drift. We're all still in a drift. But because we've created intentionality to do this, we don't drift very far because we do resurface and awaken ourselves up.
Frequently,
often. And that is critical for us to start hitting the fixed reference points of success that we want.
That's right.
At life and in work.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to start pounding on something right now because this is what we want people to hear.
Maybe on cue.
You have to, come here, Q. we want these guys to simply understand that they just need to be picking up their head out of the water on a regular basis. And in addition to that, what we want people to understand is how easy it is to do. So that's why we put together 21 days of only 10 minutes a day. I mean, who can't do 10 minutes a day? Like, you can figure out how to carve out. And I always think there's so many people that tell you, if you just get up 1 hour earlier every single day, then think you can do this, and then this. We're not even asking for 1 hour. We're just saying 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes.
10 minutes, and you can really begin the process of reshaping your life. And at the end of 21 days, have a clear path to walk on. And because of how easy that is really the critical launch point where people can begin to define and really fill out those reference points in each area of the 5 spheres of success. And I want to remind everybody what those are. We can start with career. And we say that is absolutely one of the areas, because if that's not happening, think about it. I mean, there's just going to be a lot of stress. If your finances aren't where they need to be, there's going to be a ton of stress in your life. A career, your job gives you a good sense of purpose in a healthy way, as long as it's managed correctly, right? But then you move into relationships. What about your mental and emotional health, right? What about your physical health? And what about spirituality? And those are the other spheres that people need to pay attention to, because often they get neglected. In fact, a lot of times the physical, like you said, is something that we pay attention to, because in order to be successful, our bodies have to be, and our minds in many senses have to be strong enough to carry us toward the goals that we want. But that's about where it ends, because the other one, we keep moving that reference point around. It's more about feelings, and we almost expect those things to just happen. But, we can help with that. Like, we know that people can succeed at this. It's just a matter of good evaluation and planning.
Well, let me go back. Absolutely right. Let me go back to the story. So in that story, meeting with this highly successful CEO of a very large company, his first pushback is exactly what you just said. I don't have the time for this. And as you listen now, and as you're watching now, that might be the thought that you have. I don't have enough time for this. And that's why we've intentionally carved it out at 10 minutes a day. And that's what I told him. I've got something for you at 10 minutes a day. He even would tell me at that point, I don't have 10 minutes. Okay. And he would begin to tell me the story of how many emails, how many meetings, how many deliverables, how large in the scope his job was. Okay.
And it's big.
It's big. It's massive. Okay. So I think we have to all understand, as we hear and process this conversation, what is the state of mind that you have right now? What are the things in your mind right now when you hear this conversation, to be able to identify that track, to be able to have more clarity on that track, to be able to look at some of those reference points? Where do you go when you hear this conversation? Do you go to a place of fear? Do you go to a place of, I don't have the people to help me do that. I don't have the community to help me do that. Where do you go? Because I want you right now, as you listen in or watch, I want you to go to whatever state of mind. And I want us to be able to speak even against those things, because we do have the community. We do have the tools. We do have the resources. We do have the group, the Facebook group.
Right.
And then you might begin, just like what he did, his story. He began to tell me the story. And the story was how busy he was, the deliverables, the size and the scope of his job. So the state impacts the story. And even though I gave him a great strategy, okay, and we're giving you a great tool, we're just going to give you a slice of that with 2 days in the tool, the personalized blueprint tool. We're going to give you a snapshot of that with 2 days. You can have the greatest strategy in the entire world, the greatest tool in the entire world. But if you don't really look in the mirror right now and really evaluate your state of mind and the story and the dialogue that you're believing, and look at some of those paradigms that are off, look at some of those realities that are off, face some of those lies that you're believing, then you're probably not going to change. And we want to speak against those, because we do have an opportunity. If you'll come into our ecosystem and do life with us, we have an opportunity for you to change your story and change your state of mind that will give you the great tool that we have for you to see success in life and in work.
It's good, Mark. It's good. We're hoping this for all of you guys. So there are just so many stories. I love hearing you talk about the guys that you're working with. And I mean, that's such a powerful story. And when we think about what he was facing, I think there's even a lesson for each of us to take out of it. that yes, life is busy, but are we really going to continue to push these things off and never deal with them? And I think like atrophy is a word that comes to me often when I think about that, the weakening, you know, or neglect in those areas. And when you neglect those things, you let them atrophy, then it's going to take that much longer to actually re-engage them and build them up. And I want to mention the fear thing, because I think fear keeps a lot of people from actually engaging those other areas or spheres of success. I think they have a fear of putting down the one thing that they're running on, because it's what they know, but they also fear as soon as I put it down, it's all going to unravel and fall apart. And I think sometimes that actually is true, and you have to be aware of the situation that you're in. But if you're 30 years into it, you know, I mean, this is kind of extreme, but if you're 30 years into it and you're still terrified to put it down, then there's an imbalance you got to recognize there. There's something you really got to pay attention to. The question is, you know, how long is too long, or when is the right time to do it? And if there's never going to be a right time to do it, then now is your time to engage. Yeah. And it's fear that is holding you back, because you're terrified of what life is going to look like outside of what you already know and have trained yourself to do, to think. It's that race right back to the beginning. You know how to run that one race. You know that if I do this and this and this, then I might get a little bit faster next time. You can measure it on the stopwatch, but then you keep running the same thing over and over again while everything else around you is dying. And that's what we don't want, because ultimately at the end of life, if you get to be 75 years old or 85 years old and you look back and you go, gosh, here I am in the twilight hours of my life, and what does it look like? And you look back and it's unsatisfactory to you, then what can you do about it? You have so little time left. Take the time now to evaluate. That's all we're asking for.
That's right.
Right? We want you to evaluate so that you can pick the life and career that you want.
Yeah.
And that it's just so important. And we just watch all the time of people not taking the time to do it, or having fear built up that keeps them from doing it. And so they don't. And that's sad. Yeah. That's just sad to me. Like it breaks my heart. And I mean, I've seen extreme examples of it where families fall apart. And I've seen not so extreme examples where people just kind of keep limping through life because they're oblivious to the things that they need to engage. And so their life just isn't what it could be. But we want to see people have the good life. We want to see people be able to engage life to the fullest and truly experience what success is, filled with meaning and purpose. And there are ways to do that.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, and I think the last part of the story that I'll share in this conversation that I had with the CEO is, so many times for you and I, Joel, we have people that sit across from us and their life is already on fire, or there's smoke. Mm-hmm. And there was already a fire in his life, and that's why he was across from me.
Yes.
So he had multiple times before we had met for the first time, where he collapsed in front of his kids in the kitchen once, and then he collapsed in the backyard another time. Mm-hmm. Because he was carrying so much stress and anxiety every single day, enduring 9, 10, 11-hour work days, very little sleep, pushing himself to the absolute core in that hamster wheel, to the point that his body just gave out. Mm-hmm. One time he had a head injury when he fell in the kitchen. Yeah. The other time he messed up his arm when he fell in the backyard. So do you really have to get to that point?
Right.
To begin to look in the mirror and to begin to evaluate success in your life and in your career, and having both success in both. And I think we just want to really encourage men to lift their head up right now and resurface themselves, to see where maybe they're drifting, and to begin to evaluate what is the track of success in life, the track and success at home.
And you just locked and loaded this wonderful, wonderful thing, because honestly, what we have come to discover as we've gotten older is how much we need to pay attention to some of these incredibly fun things like adventures. And how we get into this midlife, and there are just so many responsibilities, and we're trying to be the winner at work, and we're trying to be the winner at home, and we lose sight of that. But where do we find awakening? I mean, getting out, having an adventure. Where do we feel alive? I mean, I can think a few times that I feel more alive than on my mountain bike descending a hill, and it's just like beating the crap out of me. And I'm just like, I've made for this. And obviously, we don't live life strictly on a mountain bike. Some people do, I guess, but that's not a rounded out life either. But that does help with awakening. I mean, going on a retreat and learning to surf if you've never surfed before. I mean, the ocean holds mysteries that and joy and peace that I honestly I've rarely found elsewhere.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can do, whether it just be on a weekend or whether it be a weekend with us, whatever it is. Get out and have some adventure. I mean, you can have fun doing the very things that we talk about. It's not doing something that is so unenjoyable. You're just like, well, it's going to be torture.
Right.
No, this is a really awesome process because this is how life does work.
Yep.
This is part of life. You need to go and have an adventure.
So I love it. Well, I'm going to finish with reading. We said 2 days.
Let's do it.
I'm going to read 2 days.
What days are these?
Of the plan. This actually is day
21?
8 and day 9.
Great.
So there's a 21-day, 10-minute a day plan to give you a personalized blueprint. Day 8 says this. It's C.S. Lewis quote to start. Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. The prompts for 3 minutes here, about 3 minutes to do this. What are the 5 spheres of success? We've talked a lot about them. I'll give them real quick. Career, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and relational. The reflection for 3 minutes, rate yourself 1 to 10. How are you doing in each sphere? The action step for 4 minutes, identify one sphere that you want to improve right now. Day 9. The verse Proverbs 16:3, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. The prompt, what does success look like for you in each sphere? The reflection, which sphere is your strongest? Which sphere is your weakest? The action step, write one sentence defining success in each sphere.
All right.
That's day 8 and day 9.
Great.
Well, hey. Right in the link below.
Awesome. So grab it in the link below, rewind, whatever your flavor. But we're really hopeful you guys will pick your head up out of the water, take a little time to reflect and evaluate and make sure you're on the path that you want to be on. The path that's actually going to yield the success, the happiness, the joy, the fulfillment that you're looking for. Because that's really, that's really our hope. And you got to look at a more well-rounded life if you're hoping to find it. So
appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it's good being with you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
If this episode sparked something in you, please subscribe and even share it with someone who's ready to take their life to the next level. We're always on the hunt for men who are looking to become untamed and release their untamed potential. Also, if you found value in this conversation, then please rate the podcast and leave a comment. It makes a huge impact in building our community. We'll see you next time when the adventure continues, or maybe when yours begins.